Hi everyone! Before we begin, I have to warn you, this story might be so addictive that you'll forget your deadlines, your lunch, or even that text from your crush. Trust me, you won't want to leave until the very last line. So, before you get too relaxed, hit like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss the next part of the story. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments so we know where in the timeline you're listening from. If you enjoy this vibe, support me by subscribing to the channel so I can keep telling you more stories like this. Now, take a deep breath. You're about to wake up in a place where the air smells of raw earth, fire, and mammoth sweat. You blink. Once. Twice. The first thing you notice is that it's cold. Bone-deep cold that makes your teeth chatter before you've even opened your mouth. You're lying on what feels like a bed of fur, thick and scratchy against your skin. Your brain tries to compute the situation, but all it gives you is a spinning blue circle, like your mind is buffering. When your eyes finally adjust, you see massive animal skins draped across a wooden frame above you. There's a hole in the roof, and snowflakes drift lazily through, landing on your face like frozen confetti. The air smells smoky, tinged with something faintly gamey, and it hits you. This isn't your bed, or even your century. Sitting up, you hear soft gasps. A group of people, a dozen at least, are crouched in a wide circle, staring. Their faces are smeared with ash, hair braided with bones and feathers, bodies wrapped in thick hides. They whisper in a language your brain doesn't recognize, but somehow your gut tells you they're asking what you're going to do next. You try to speak, but your voice croaks like a frog. Where am I? They freeze. One of them, a broad-shouldered man with a jagged scar across his cheek, leans forward and points at you. Then, at a crackling fire pit in the center of the hut, he grunts and utters something guttural. It's almost melodic, but the only word you catch sounds like bringer. Wait, bringer? Bringer of what? A chill seeps deeper into your bones, not from the weather. Did they mistake you for a god, a spirit, a time traveler with 2% phone battery left? You glance down at your hands. No phone, no jacket, just a rough tunic that wasn't there when you slept in your IKEA chair. This isn't a dream. This is real. You're stuck in the Stone Age. One of the women steps forward, her hands clutching a bundle of sticks. She offers them to you, bowing slightly. Everyone else leans in expectantly. You stare at the sticks. What do they want? A magic trick? Then it hits you. They're cold, they're hungry, and they think you, the one who arrived in a flash of light, okay fine, you blacked out in your IKEA chair, know how to make fire. Oh no! They think you're some kind of influencer, the fire bringer, the answer to their prehistoric prayers. You clear your throat and give them an awkward smile. Okay, let's do this. You've never even lit a match without fumbling, but here you are about to attempt mankind's first sponsored content, how to rub sticks together without dying. There's an uncomfortable pause as you crouch by the fire pit, awkwardly arranging the sticks like a DIY caveman. You try to remember all those survival shows you half-watched at 2 a.m. Friction creates heat. Heat creates fire, you murmur under your breath. The tribe leans in. One kid's eyes are so wide they look like they'll pop out of his head. You can almost hear their inner dialogue. Is this the moment? Is the bringer about to save us? Your hands are stiff, clumsy. You rub the sticks together like you're massaging a grumpy cat, praying for sparks. Nothing. A wisp of smoke teases you, then fades. You keep going. Please, please, don't let me be history's first canceled influencer. Finally, miraculously, a tiny ember glows. A collective gasp ripples through the group. You blow gently, heart pounding. The ember grows, flames lick the dry twigs, and suddenly the fire roars to life. Cheers erupt. The scar-faced man thumps his chest and points at you, bellowing a word that probably translates to legend. Two women start dancing, and even the grumpy elder in the back cracks a toothless smile. Congratulations! You've accidentally become the Stone Age's first influencer, and your follower count just hit double digits. You sit back, wiping sweat from your brow, and try to process the situation. But there's no time to relax. Someone hands you a spear, grunting expectantly. Your next collab is already scheduled, a mammoth hunt. Historians still argue whether early Homo sapiens truly revered fire makers as gods or just practical problem solvers. You're starting to understand why they might lean divine. And as you clutch the spear, you mutter under your breath, "You probably won't survive this." The spear feels heavier than it looks, the wooden shaft rough in your palm. You shift your grip, trying to copy the confident way the scar-faced man holds his weapon. He watches you out of the corner of his eye, nodding approvingly, like handing over a deadly stick to a shivering stranger is the smartest move in the world. You're marched out of the hut into a world so brutally cold it bites through the fur slung over your shoulders. The sky is a dull gray, low clouds smearing across the horizon. Snow crunches underfoot. The tribe walks in a tight group, feet wrapped in strips of hide, their breath fogging like tiny chimneys. Every now and then, one of them glances back at you, as if to check that their miraculous bringer hasn't disappeared. They seem to expect you to lead, which is hilarious because you're about as equipped for hunting mammoths as a houseplant is for calculus. "Okay, no big deal," you mutter. "Just find the mammoth, kill the mammoth, and avoid getting flattened into a mammoth pancake." Scarface grunts and points to his eyes, then sweeps his arm toward the horizon. You realize he's asking you to scout, so you pretend to scan the snowy expanse with intense focus, like you're calculating wind speed and herd patterns instead of panicking. A rust-colored smear catches your eye in the distance. You squint. Is that... Oh, it is! A mammoth! Massive! Shaggy! Its curved tusks gleam faintly as it lumbers along, slow and steady with snow caked on its fur. You swallow hard. That thing is the size of a food truck, and you're supposed to stab it with a sharpened stick? Still, you point dramatically, hoping to look like you know what you're doing. The tribe murmurs in approval. One of them, a wiry young man with a feather in his hair, starts making hand signals and directing the others into position. It's almost like watching a Stone Age SWAT team forming up. The plan becomes clear. They're going to drive the mammoth toward you. You, the out-of-shape time traveler who once pulled a muscle reaching for the TV remote, are supposed to stand in its path and finish it off. This is fine, totally fine. You crouch behind a clump of frozen bushes as the tribe fans out in a wide arc. Their voices rise in unison, low, throaty chants that sound like a cross between a war cry and an EDM drop. The mammoth freezes. Its ears twitch. Slowly, it turns toward the noise, and then it charges. The ground trembles under its weight. Snow sprays up in chunks as its huge feet pound the earth. You can feel each step in your ribcage. The tribe hoots and hollers, waving torches to keep it moving in your direction. "Remember your training," you whisper to yourself, which is ridiculous because you have no training. The only thing you've ever hunted is Wi-Fi. You grip the spear tight and try to remember every survival documentary you've ever half-watched. David Attenborough's voice echoes in your head. Early humans depended on cooperative hunting to bring down megafauna. The mammoth barrels closer. You can see its tiny eyes now, glinting with something between confusion and rage. Your knees threaten to give out. At the last possible second, you sidestep and jab the spear with all your strength into its side. The tip bites deep. The mammoth bellows in pain and veers off, stumbling. Featherhair leaps from the bushes, plunging his spear into the mammoth's neck. Two more hunters follow, and within moments, the great beast slows, then collapses with a groan that seems to shake the trees. Silence falls. Steam rises from the mammoth's body as its lifeblood stains the snow. The tribe erupts in cheers. Scarface thumps you on the back so hard you nearly faceplant in the snow. Featherhair kneels beside the fallen beast and begins chanting. The others join in, swaying rhythmically. It's a strange, haunting sound. Even without understanding the words, you feel the weight of what just happened. This isn't just dinner, it's survival, community, gratitude to the forces they can't explain. Historians still argue whether such hunts were more ritual than necessity, whether the chants were prayers, strategies, or both. In this moment, you'd bet on all of the above. Someone presses a bloody handprint to your chest, right over your heart. It's a mark of honor, you realize. They're welcoming you as one of their own. Great, I just unlocked the Tribe's First Influencer Achievement badge, you whisper. Scarface grins and holds up your spear, pointing to the fire-scorched tip. The others nod in approval. Your accidental fire-making clout has just doubled. As they begin skinning the mammoth and divvying up the meat, you wonder how long you can keep this act up. You brought them fire. You helped with the hunt. What's next? Cave paintings? Prehistoric TikTok dances? One thing's certain, you're now on the tribe's content calendar whether you like it or not. The feast begins with a strange ceremony. The tribe forms a circle around the mammoth carcass, their hands raised as they chant in guttural tones that vibrate in your rib cage. The scar-faced man smears his fingers in the mammoth's blood and draws a line across your forehead. You flinch, but he grins, proud, reverent. You've just been anointed as their leader for the hunt. A primitive version of a sponsored post, if you will. Your followers are literally eating it up. When they finally carve the meat, the aroma of sizzling mammoth fat hits you like a freight train. It's intoxicating. They offer you the first bite, raw, still warm. You hesitate, but the tribe watches intently. One raised eyebrow from the elder says it all. Don't ruin your engagement rate now. You take a bite. It's chewy, metallic, primal. The crowd erupts into cheers. Even the feather-haired youth claps your back and mutters something approving. Congratulations, you've survived your first prehistoric brand partnership. But then, just as the atmosphere relaxes, Scarface points at you and makes a gesture, a sharp stabbing motion followed by a sweep of his hand. You don't need a translator to get the gist. You're scheduled for the next big gig. More work already? You mutter, licking mammoth grease from your fingers. The tribe's eyes gleam with anticipation. You're supposed to help them secure more food for winter, lead more hunts, inspire more innovation. You realize with a sinking feeling that this isn't a one-time collaboration. You've unwittingly signed up for the Stone Age equivalent of a long-term influencer contract. So, you nod solemnly, as if to say, "Yes, my people, I shall deliver." You're in deep now. As the feast winds down, they pass around hollowed gourds filled with some kind of fermented berry liquid. You take a cautious sip and instantly regret it. The sour, pungent taste makes you gag, but the others slam theirs back and howl with delight. "Right," you mutter. Early humans liked their kombucha chunky. One of the women gestures for you to join her by the fire. She presses a lump of charcoal into your hand and points at the cave wall. The meaning is clear. Draw something. Entertain us. Educate us. Influence us. You glance at the blank stone canvas. You never paid attention in art class, but maybe you don't need to be Michelangelo to impress a crowd that's never seen a stick figure. As you make your first mark, the crowd gasps. Lines become shapes, shapes become figures, a story unfolding under your clumsy fingers. You draw the mammoth, your spear plunging into its side, fire roaring in the background. The tribe murmurs excitedly, crowding closer. Congratulations, you've just invented cave art. Historians still debate whether these early images were religious, educational, or just the world's first flex posts. Here now, you suspect it's all the above. When you finish, Scarface touches the wall reverently and nods at you. The others copy your drawings, smearing charcoal over their palms and slapping handprints onto the stone. Your content is going viral. But as they settle down for the night, you realize something chilling. You've raised their expectations. You gave them fire, a mammoth, and now art. What happens when they ask for more? When they expect you to lead them against rival tribes, invent new tools, or cure disease? You stare into the flickering flames, heart pounding. The Stone Age isn't just survival anymore. It's an audience, and you're their first influencer. The next morning, the first rays of sun creep through the hole in the roof and land squarely on your face. You stir, groggy, your muscles stiff from sleeping on hard-packed earth. For one blissful second, you forget where you are. Then you open your eyes and remember mammoth pelts, bone jewelry, charcoal-stained hands. You're still here. Outside, the tribe is already bustling. Women weave sinew into cord, men sharpen spears with stone flakes, and children giggle as they smear ash on their faces, pretending to be hunters. A few of them stop and gape at you as you step into the cold air. You try to smile, but their expressions are serious. The tribe expects you to deliver another miracle today. And this time, it's not about food or fire. It's about storytelling. They lead you to a wide, smooth wall in a larger cave nearby. Your mammoth hunt doodle from last night was just the appetizer. Now they want the full course. Scarface hands you a fresh lump of charcoal and steps back, arms crossed. You hesitate, staring at the blank stone. Your audience, young and old alike, crowds behind you. You're not just drawing, you're crafting a narrative, giving them a vision to pass on. "All right," you whisper, "let's do this." You begin with simple shapes, stick figures with spears, a roaring fire, a herd of mammoths. But as you work, your strokes grow bolder. You shade in a hunter crouching behind rocks, show arrows mid-flight, capture the moment of victory as the beast falls. The tribe murmurs. Featherhair points at your hands and says something in awe. You don't need to understand his words. The tone is clear. To them, this is magic. You add details, handprints, swirls to represent wind, dots for falling snow. The children gasp as you draw a great bird in the sky. A few even try to copy your movements with tiny fingers, smearing black lines on their own arms. Congratulations! You've just created the Stone Age's first tutorial. How to Hunt Mammoths, Step-by-Step Illustrated Guide. Historians still argue whether cave art served as educational manuals or spiritual talismans. Standing here, your fingers numb from the cold stone, you suspect it's both. But you're not done. You take a step back, smudge your charcoal-stained thumb over one figure's head, and add 3 short lines radiating outward. A crown. The tribe murmurs louder, some dropping to their knees. Oops, you've just drawn yourself as their king. One woman copies the gesture in the dirt, then bows to you. And just like that, you've accidentally invented visual branding, the first prehistoric logo. You wipe your hands on your tunic, trying to hide your nervousness. The tribe doesn't notice. They're too busy pressing their palms to the wall, chanting softly. You step outside for air, heart pounding. The cold wind hits you like a slap. How do I keep this up? You mutter. If this were Instagram, you could take a break, post an old photo with #ThrowbackThursday and coast on the algorithm. But here, one wrong move, and you're not just irrelevant, you're food for saber-tooths. From behind you comes a shrill laugh. You turn to see 2 young hunters wearing your crown symbol drawn in mud on their foreheads. They're imitating you, mocking or honoring, you can't tell. Either way, your influence is spreading fast. The first thing you notice is the silence. It's heavy, expectant, like the hush before a fashion show starts. You're sitting cross-legged in the main hut, the fur wrap around your shoulders arranged carefully, too carefully apparently, because now half the tribe is staring at you again. You tug at the knot holding the fur together, trying to loosen it, but the effect is the opposite. The knot slides slightly off-center and suddenly, you've done it. You've created a look. One of the younger women tilts her head, eyes narrowing in admiration. She unties her own wrap and reties it in your style. Another follows, and another. Before you can say, wait, it was an accident, 5 people are strutting around with asymmetrical fur wraps, nodding approvingly at each other. Great, now I'm the Stone Age's first fashion influencer. Scarface notices too. He strokes his chin, then rips his own pelt off and redrapes it badly over his left shoulder. The tribe cheers. 2 men bump chests in what can only be described as the first runway walk-off. You don't know whether to laugh or cry. When the fire dies down, Featherhair crouches beside you. He points at your fur wrap, then gestures toward the pile of skins by the wall. It's clear he's asking for more innovations, different styles, variations. You're being asked to host the first Fur Fashion Week. Okay, you whisper to yourself, let's think this through. You start experimenting. A belted fur tunic, a crisscross shoulder wrap, even a head covering that makes you look like a cozy Viking. Each time you reveal a new style, the tribe reacts with delighted gasps. One boy copies your head wrap and twirls dramatically, his friends clapping in delight. Congratulations, you've invented the prehistoric catwalk. Historians still argue whether early humans cared about fashion beyond practicality. Here, watching 2 elders argue over whose fur sash is trendier, you have your answer. Absolutely yes. The celebration is interrupted when a woman storms in from outside, waving a torn hide and shouting angrily. You don't understand the words, but the tone is unmistakable. She's accusing someone of copying her design. Ah, you murmur, the first case of fashion plagiarism. Within minutes, the hut erupts in chaos. Hunters and gatherers alike argue over which style belongs to whom, and whether you, the apparent fashion guru, should decide. You hold up your hands, trying to calm the crowd. But deep down, you're wondering how on earth you ended up mediating the world's first intellectual property dispute. This isn't just survival anymore. It's branding, image management, and conflict resolution. And you're in way over your head. The shouting doesn't stop. 2 men are nose to nose, arguing in a language you don't understand, but with body language that's painfully clear. They're accusing each other of theft. The original fashion dispute has spiraled out of control. Scarface stands rigid at the center of the hut, arms crossed, his eyes flicking between them and you. His expression says it all. Fix this, O wise influencer. You force a smile. Okay, let's not go full cancel culture here. But it's too late. The younger man, he's the one who copied your belted fur tunic design, grabs a burning stick from the fire and waves it menacingly. His opponent backs away, growling, then yells something sharp and guttural. The entire tribe falls silent. Even the children stop playing, their wide eyes darting between you and the angry pair. Great, you mutter under your breath. I'm about to witness the first ever influencer takedown. You raise your hands and step forward. Let's remember why we're here, people. Warmth, survival, good vibes, remember? No reaction. So, you do the only thing you can think of. You grab a scrap of fur, twist it into an absurd knot, and plop it on your head like a floppy crown. Then you strut across the hut, swaying your hips like you're on a Paris runway. The kids giggle. Featherhair snorts. Even Scarface hides a grin behind his hand. The angry men pause, distracted. One lets out a nervous chuckle. The tension breaks. Congratulations! You've just invented satire as a conflict resolution tool. Historians still argue whether early humans used humor deliberately to diffuse tensions in small groups. Judging by the tribe's reaction, you'd say they absolutely did. But not everyone is impressed. Later that night, while the tribe feasts on roasted hare, a woman sidles up to you. Her face is painted with ash in an elaborate pattern you haven't seen before. She whispers something sharp, her tone dripping with disdain. Featherhair translates with a few hesitant gestures. She thinks you're dangerous. It hits you like a punch to the gut. You've been so focused on keeping the tribe happy that you forgot. Every influencer has haters. You glance at the woman's painted face and realize she's from another tribe, a rival group. She's been watching you this whole time. And now she's whispering to Scarface, shaking her head. "They're coming for me," you whisper. "The prehistoric trolls." As the night deepens, you hear drums in the distance. Low, rhythmic, threatening. You're not sure if it's a ritual or a warning. Either way, you realize with a sinking feeling, you're not just their firebringer anymore. You're a lightning rod. The drums don't stop. They rumble through the ground like distant thunder, setting your teeth on edge. Every so often, the wind carries faint chanting from beyond the trees, deep, guttural, and definitely not coming from your tribe. Scarface stands watch at the edge of the camp, his hand gripping a spear so tightly his knuckles turn white. Featherhair crouches near the fire, carving grooves into a bone flute with practiced hands. He looks up at you and nods solemnly, then gestures for you to sit. You hesitate. You've been dreading this moment, ever since you realized there was another tribe out there, a rival audience. And worse, they're already sending their first wave of prehistoric trolls. Suspicious looks, whispered warnings, side-eye from the woman with the ash-painted face. Featherhair hands you the finished bone flute and gestures toward the fire. "Play it," he sang. "Entertain us. Inspire us. Show the others you're not just some fire-making fraud." You turn the fragile instrument over in your hands. It's surprisingly smooth, hollowed perfectly, with tiny holes carved at precise intervals. You lift it to your lips, take a deep breath, and blow. At first, nothing happens. Then, a soft, airy note drifts into the cold night air. The tribe freezes. All eyes turn to you. You try again, blowing gently. This time the sound is clearer, richer. A haunting melody that swirls between the huts, carried by the wind. The children giggle and clap. One woman begins to sway, moving her arms like she's stirring invisible smoke. Others join in, their movements growing bolder, until the whole group is dancing around the fire in slow rhythmic circles. Congratulations, you've just invented music, and accidentally started the Stone Age's first rave. Historians still argue whether bone flutes were used for rituals, entertainment, or communication. Watching this scene, you suspect it was all three. But the mood changes when a shadow moves at the edge of the clearing. You lower the flute. The dancers stop. Scarface raises his spear. From the trees emerges a massive figure, an elder from the rival tribe, his face painted in black and red stripes. He carries no weapon, but his presence alone sends a ripple of unease through your audience. He stares at you. Then, with a voice like gravel, he growls a single word. You don't know what it means, but you know a challenge when you hear one. Featherhair leans close and whispers, "Play." The elder raises his own bone flute, carved longer and more ornate than yours. He blows a note, deep, resonant, commanding. Oh no, this is it, the first ever battle of the bands. You close your eyes, take a breath, and play. The notes flow clumsily at first, then smoother, gaining confidence. You shift your fingers, weaving a melody so strange and new that even the rival elder blinks in surprise. When you finish, the clearing is silent. Then your tribe erupts in cheers. The rival elder nods slowly, lowers his flute, and retreats into the darkness. You've won. But as the drums fade into the distance, you can't shake the feeling that this victory came at a price. The rival tribe isn't going to forget the night you stole their spotlight. And deep down, you know this isn't over. The next morning, you're jolted awake by a sound you can't place. A low growl, guttural and wet. You sit up slowly, eyes scanning the edge of the clearing. The fire has gone out. The tribe is huddled in tight clusters, whispering, clutching their spears. Scarface meets your gaze and points to the tree line. There, barely visible in the mist, a pair of golden eyes gleams. You freeze. Saber-toothed tiger. It prowls forward, muscles rippling under its striped coat, the massive teeth catching a glint of gray dawn light. One paw steps silently into the clearing, then another. Scarface tightens his grip on his spear, ready to spring. The others look to you. Wait, to you? You try to signal, "Don't look at me," but it's too late. They expect their influencer to deliver yet another miracle. Great, you mutter. Stone Age networking, but with a predator. The tiger stalks closer. Its tail lashes side to side like a whip. You hold your breath, racking your brain for survival tips. Climb a tree? No, too slow. Run? Definitely not. Then you remember something from a wildlife documentary. Big cats don't like direct eye contact. So you stand, slowly, deliberately. Your heart hammers in your chest as you lock eyes with the beast. The tribe gasps. You step forward, forcing your breath into a steady rhythm. In, out. You raise your arms, not aggressively, but wide enough to make yourself look larger. The tiger freezes. Scarface mutters something under his breath. Featherhair grips your tunic as if to pull you back, but you shake him off. Historians still argue whether early humans survived such encounters by luck or strategy. Right now, it feels like a mix of both. The tiger's ears flick. It lets out a low hiss. Then, it turns. With one last glare, it slinks back into the trees. The clearing exhales as one. Scarface drops his spear. Featherhair's jaw hangs open. The kids stare at you like you just summoned lightning from the sky. Congratulations! You've survived prehistoric networking with apex predators. As the tribe bursts into celebratory cheers, you can't help but mutter under your breath, "I'm going to need hazard pay for this gig." But deep down, you know something's changed. You didn't kill the tiger. You didn't even scare it. You negotiated. And now you've gained something far more valuable than clout: the tribe's complete trust. The clearing is quiet, save for the rhythmic clinking of stones being stacked, one atop the other. You crouch nearby, hands coated in dust, staring at the growing circle in front of you. It started as a distraction, a few rocks arranged into a rough ring while you tried to think of how to keep your followers busy. But now the tribe has joined in, hauling boulders, chanting softly as they work. The circle grows taller, wider, symmetrical in a way that's almost unsettling. Featherhair wipes his brow and grins at you. He gestures at the structure and then at the sky, saying something that sounds reverent. You realize with a creeping sense of horror that they think this is a sacred space. Great, you mutter. I've accidentally invented the Stone Age's first influencer studio. Scarface strides over, claps you on the shoulder, and points at the center of the circle. He's asking you to stand there. You hesitate, but the tribe watches, expectant. So you step into the circle. The air feels heavier somehow, charged. The stones form a crude barrier against the wind, and the firelight flickers strangely across their rough surfaces. The tribe begins to hum, low and deep. The sound vibrates in your chest. You don't know what this ritual means. Is it gratitude, worship, or are they about to crown you their leader permanently? Historians still argue whether stone circles served as burial sites, ceremonial spaces, or prehistoric calendars. Standing here, you suspect it's something far more primal, a stage. And you're the unwilling headliner. Featherhair presses a necklace of teeth into your hand, a gift. You slip it over your head, feeling the weight of each fang resting against your chest. One of the elders sprinkles ashes around your feet in a perfect spiral. 2 children copy him, their tiny hands shaking with excitement. Congratulations! You've created not just a circle, but a community. But even as the tribe celebrates, you can't shake a strange unease. Because if this is your studio, what happens when your next post doesn't perform? The first shell you hand out is a hit. The child cradles it in her palm like it's a priceless jewel, running to show the others. Soon, every pair of eyes in the tribe is fixed on you, wide with wonder. So, naturally, you promise more. Bring me enough firewood and you'll get one too, you say, pantomiming wildly to make your point. The message gets through. In minutes, the clearing is a flurry of activity. Hunters, gatherers, even the elders are hauling branches to the center like you're Santa Claus. You didn't plan this. It was supposed to be a fun distraction, something to keep spirits high after a long winter. But now, it's a full-blown prehistoric giveaway. There's just one problem. You're out of shells. Your stomach drops as Featherhair bounds up with an armful of wood, grinning expectantly. He holds out his hand. Behind him, the tribe gathers, murmuring excitedly. You dig through your fur pouch, praying you missed one. Nothing. Oh no, you whisper. This is bad. The mood shifts almost instantly. The murmurs grow louder, sharper. Scarface frowns, his fingers tightening around his spear. Congratulations! You've just orchestrated the first influencer giveaway disaster. Historians still argue whether early societies understood scarcity or if communal sharing erased such tensions. Standing here, watching your audience turn, you know the answer. They absolutely understood scarcity and they hated it. The child with the first shell clutches it protectively as 2 older boys argue over who deserves the next one. The woman with the ash-painted face points at you and shouts. You don't need a translator to get the gist. This bringer is a fraud. Okay, let's take a breath, you say, holding up your hands. We're all friends here, right? No one moves. You're losing them. In a desperate bid to regain control, you hold up your bone flute and start playing. The melody is shaky, but it cuts through the tension like sunlight breaking through clouds. Slowly, the tribe calms. Scarface lowers his spear. Featherhair smiles weakly. You end on a high note, then force a grin. No more shells, but music's free, right? A few chuckles ripple through the group. You've survived. Barely. But deep down you know the damage is done. The first cracks in your influence have appeared. And as you sit by the dying fire that night, staring at the empty pouch in your lap, one thought burns brighter than the embers. How much longer can I keep this up? The firelight flickers low, casting long shadows on the cave walls. The air is still now, no drums, no whispers, only the soft crackle of embers and the occasional sigh of wind outside. You feel your eyelids growing heavy. Around you, the tribe sleeps soundly, curled up under furs, their faces peaceful. Even Scarface, ever vigilant, snores faintly from his corner. You take a deep breath, feeling the warmth seep into your bones. For the first time in days or weeks, you allow yourself to relax, to let go of the weight of expectation, the constant need to perform, to lead, to inspire. Out there in the forest, the rival tribe's drums are silent. The saber-toothed tiger has disappeared into the night. The Shell debacle, the fashion feuds, even your accidental rise to stardom, all of it feels distant now, like a half-remembered dream. You close your eyes. The fire's glow softens, the world fading to muted tones. You hear the faint melody of your bone flute echoing in your mind, a soothing lullaby that pulls you deeper into stillness. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new hunts, new expectations. But for now, you rest. Your breathing slows, the cave grows quiet, the last spark pops softly in the ash, and the Stone Age slips away, one heartbeat at a time. Good night, traveler.